Hey, Cmax here. Um, every time I'm gonna try a new series. It is gonna be about reloading, but not how to reload. I'm gonna call it something else, and I'll tell you in a second. But every time I do something related, I get the comments, oh, well, one day maybe I should start doing it, and that kind of thing. And granted that reloading isn't for everyone. It is for a lot of us. I think it is for a lot of people who just, you don't haven't gotten over the hump. You watch these reloading and you see these big blue, red, green machines churning out all this ammunition and just, oh my God, it's like, take decades to figure out, what you're doing and how to do all that. And it's very intimidating. I'm going to try a series I'm going to call not how to, but what to. So what does that mean? Well, basically that means I'm going to go through and kind of show the steps, but not how to do it, but actually the purpose of what we're doing, the whole idea, so that when you watch these other ones, it might fill in some gaps that you have. Because I think a lot of people, have these gaps about, okay, that's how you do it, but, I don't really understand what you're doing or why. And you always hear everybody, oh, it's going to explode and blow up your gun. And, when that certainly can happen with just very simple, common sense stuff, it's not a huge issue as you may think. Okay. Now, this series is not for a reloader. This is for someone who's just kind of curious about it and just wants to know more about what's actually happening in the process, as opposed to, okay, you put it here and, why you do that. What are you actually doing to it? So that's kind of where I'm going to try to approach this. I'm just kind of going to approach it from what I do. This is literally the brass I brought back from the last time I went to the gun club. Did I shoot all this? Absolutely not. It was a good day for picking brass. One of those days where you see more and you're like, oh, crap, because you can't leave it there. But, I did shoot a lot. I mean, I shot a lot. So basically, you come back from the range, and my stuff is 99% range brass. I'm all about shooting cheap. If you follow my channel, how to do this stuff cheap so you can buy more guns and you can shoot more. So obviously, I work with range brass. Well, typically, the first thing I'll do is I'll bring it back, and then since you don't ever want to clean different calibers together because they do that kind of number, get inside each other, and it doesn't work very well at all. What I do is I'll deprime them before I clean them, but you don't have to do that. Why do you clean the case? Okay, we talked about why do you separate the calibers before you clean them, because they don't fit inside each other. Simple, makes sense. But why do you actually clean it? Do you clean it so that, it'll look like, it'll go from that to that, and, really from that to that? If I can get some light in here on it, but see if you can see that. But yeah, big difference, definitely. It's not to make it look brand new, okay? It's not. That's nice, fancy, makes you feel good, but that's not necessary. That's a luxury. The whole idea of why do you clean it is basically you're worried about cleaning the outside of it. The inside of it, as long as there's not anything in it, the walls being black or whatever really doesn't seem to have any effect that I've ever been able to detect. And I've done some, I didn't document it, but I've done, chronograph. I'll make 10 of them clean, like the one I showed you, or just clean the outside, leave the inside okay. Don't clean the primer pockets ahead of time. I couldn't see any appreciable difference at all. So you clean the outside so that, one, you can inspect the case. This is range brass, so you need to look at it. Hey, okay, and it doesn't take long. Usually around the bottom, you'll see a line form, or you see a crack going literally in it, or there's damage to the mouth. But no matter how you clean it, you've got a couple of options. One, you can remove the primer first to expose the pocket, or not. It really doesn't matter. Now, um, it depends on how I'm going to clean them, to be quite frank with you. If I'm going to put them in water, I usually knock the primers out. So if I'm going to put them in a wet tumbler or do the redneck way of cleaning it, and I'll put a link to the redneck method, up here, and click on that if you want to know. That's basically putting the chemicals in a container, throwing them in there, and letting them sit for about a day. That's about as simple and easy as it gets. And then you have dry tumbling, blah, blah, blah. If I'm going to dry tumble them, I usually don't take the primers out, because I don't want the media material collecting up in the primer pocket. You basically clean the outside of the case. And you do that so it won't dirty and scratch your dies, and won't dirty and scratch your chamber, and it'll function more reliably. That's why you're cleaning it. And the important part's the outside. The inside, as long as there's no debris or actual thing in there that will take up volume or anything, and you're just talking about, charred walls, it makes no difference. That's fine inside of this case. It's the outside we're concerned with. Now, another advantage of cleaning it, cleaning it like this, so you can see the difference here. I'm sure. All right, so you can definitely see the difference inside. And you can see that's a range case. It's dented, right there. So, but you don't have to get it. You don't have to get it like this. So, what I typically do is you get a press, okay? Slide this up like this so you can see it. I'm actually laying on the side because I have the camera pointed down, so I'm gonna show this to you. This is about the most basic press you can get. Works fine though. It's a Lee. It's like 30 bucks, 28 bucks. You can probably find it on sale for $24, $25. And I know people who load rifle rounds on it. So you pick up one of these if you want, but this is a press. And, all it does is literally press stuff together. And we'll get into that later. So you just press stuff together. All right. So what do you press together and why? What I normally do is say we're going to wet tumble these to get them shiny like you saw in that. Then I do remove the primer. Now you use the press for that. This particular, make sure I'm here. This particular die. This is what they call a die, and it's just a big round thing with a nut, and you just screw it to different heights that you need by following the instructions. And that's real simple too. Don't think it's hard. It's not. Anyway, this is just what they call a Lee Universal, which means it's not caliber specific. It'll work with the 45s or the 9s, or whatever 40, 38s, it doesn't matter. It'll work the same, so you don't have to change it out. Now that's unique for this die. Most dies you do have to change to the appropriate caliber. But anyway, so this just has a pin that comes down into the center, down in through here, and it's going to punch. That rod will go through the center, punch the primer out. It'll pop through this hole, collect down in here, and roll out through this that I've made for the primers. See down in it there. It just goes down in the center of the case, and punches the primer out. So it just slides right down on the case, just like that. Just like that. Just like that. And you see, it rattles around, but all it has to do is be centered, and the shell holder does that. Come out. So it's very simple. Well, how do you do that? Well, you have what they call a shell holder, and it basically does that. And they are caliper specific so that it'll hold it firmly, correctly, and centered. So you slide it in like that. It's got a channel, and you just put it in the edge, get it, and you always want it centered. You can see here, let's bring the light in a little bit. It's got to hold down through the center. So it's going to be sitting like that. This rod's going to come down. It's going to punch it down into the shaft through this hole. So what you do is you just slide the shell holder in. This one you kind of hear it click. It's got a little retaining spring here that just kind of holds it in place. Not too hard. Very, very simple. You slide the case in. Now this is going to be a little awkward because I'm doing this sideways, but just put it through and boom. Feel some, and you get a feeling for it. We'll get into that later. That's how to. We're not doing that. Well, basically what we do is you knock it out. So this pin just went through the center and pushed it out. And it's down in this shaft right now. When it's set up right, normally gravity will pull it through its place. Okay, so then I get that ready and I throw it, in another bucket. It's waiting to be tumbled and cleaned. But that's all you do. You're like, well, man, I still don't get how you set this up. Well, you saw me clip this in, so let's do the die. So I'm going to remove the die. And you can see I didn't have it very tight. I did it with my hand. And the reason you don't have to torque this kind of stuff down is all the force is this way. So there's nothing to cause it to loosen because the force is this way. There's no forces this way. And let me tell you, keep your fingers out of here because the force will be with you if you allow this thing to swing up, especially on the bigger ones. Catches your finger in there, it can crush it like that because these things are a lot more powerful than they look like. Okay, so we start out and we've got our press. We do have our little shell holder in it, but we need to set this press up. Well, it helps to look at what's going on. So basically, let me get one that's already been punched here. So you can see what's going on right there. It's going right in, and see, it pushes out the primer. So you can see what's really going on there. So it's not a big setting. Basically, you're going to want to raise they call this the ram handle, and this is the ram. You'll raise the ram to the top. So as far as it'll go. And you just have to follow the directions. You can screw this down to touch it, and then it'll compress, you'll touch hand to hand, the case will be in there, and it'll work. And that's going to give you as full length as possible. Typically, I'll touch it, back it out just a hair, and then just tighten it down with my fingers. Put it in the grooves, there it goes. You just bring it up, and you kind of feel it hit. And I usually will hit it and then push it on through. There again, primer's just gone. So that's depriming. I mean, basic introduction to press. After that, take it, run it through the wet tumbler, whatnot, and then you slide this out of the way, pull this over, and that's when you get this. But I didn't start out with this. I started out with just dry tumbling, and that's messy, and we'll talk about that later. If I had to do it over again, I would just do the redneck method until I was able to buy a tumbler. But there's good and bad about all of them. Every way that you clean, there's good and bad. Now, this method gets it the cleanest, I mean, inside and out, as any method. This definitely does. Steel pins, wash, liquid detergent, lemon juice or lemon shine, and you can really look at the case extremely well, inside and out. So this is definitely the best way to do it. And if you're going to do all that, you might as well clean the primer pockets. That's my thinking. So that's going to do it for this first segment.